Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being on my YouTube live tonight. Right? I know after a long Monday, and some of you guys have kids and all kinds of stuff, but you want to know about real estate. So let's just start from the beginning. My name is Marcia, right? I am a real estate broker here in Atlanta and Savannah, Georgia. Um, I'm a realtor and I'm also an investor, and I also have a property management company. So, any of you looking to buy, sell, invest, or you have properties that need to be managed, definitely um, give me a call. Let me know how I can assist you. Also, if you're looking to purchase outside of the Georgia market, I can always refer you to one of my partners, one of my realtor partners, um, anywhere in the United States. So I, again, do not take your time for granted. So I want to go ahead and get started. So I had people that sent in questions. And so I just want to go ahead and I want to start answering those questions, right? So let me turn a little AC thing this way because it's hot up here. I'm in my office and I didn't cut on the air up here earlier, so I'm a little hot. But anyway, um, if you have any questions, though, you can always put them in the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So again, you can just type them in the chat and I will take a look at them and I will answer your questions. So tonight I'm going to talk about the 10 most commonly asked questions from home buyers, right? It could be either first time home buyers or it could be buyers that have been out of the market for a while. It could be buyers that actually purchased, let's say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Sometimes I've had clients that purchased 25 years ago. And so many things have changed since they purchased their first home. So it's like they're starting all over. It's like they're a first time home buyer. And so we go through that entire consult. We ask, I answer all the questions that they have, financing, all of those things. Because not only are they're selling their house a lot of times, and then we're going to look for a new home for them. So they still have to go through that process to get qualified to buy their next home, right? So I have my little phone here. I have it on my little tripod over here because I want to make sure that I'm not leaving anything out, that I'm not missing any questions. And so you may see me glancing over to, well, my right, I don't know, probably your left. I'll be glancing over because I want to make sure that I'm answering everybody's questions, all the questions that came in, right? So you'll see me kind of looking over here from time to time, right? So first question, which is always a question, right? What's the first step of the home buying process? So, the first step of the home buying process, unless you're paying cash for the property. So, if you're paying cash for the property, then we don't have to go through any of this in terms of speaking with a lender. So, the very first thing that we're going to do, the very first process that happens is that I'm going to put you in contact with one of my lender partners, right? Or you may come to me already qualified. Sometimes people do. Um, and then I always tell people it's kind of like when you're shopping for cars. You don't always just go with the first car dealership, right? You shop around because you want to make sure you're getting the best rate, all of that. So I always tell people to not just you need to vet more than one lender. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. You need to vet more than one lender so that you can just compare. You can compare the interest rates. You can compare, all the things that they are offering you to make sure that you're getting the best deal, right? So that's the very first process. We're going to take you through the loan application process. Um, And you could either go a couple of ways. You can go FHA, you can go conventional, or if you're a veteran, if you've served in the military, then you will go. You can go the VA loan route, right? So VA loans are amazing because there's no down payment. The credit scores a little bit more lenient. So again, I love VA loans, but anyway, those are the three. Oh, and then you also have a fourth loan that is called a USDA loan, but those are more so for more rural areas. So a USDA loan probably would not be used for if you're looking to purchase in the city, right? In Atlanta, in Cobb County, those type. If you're in the city, USDA loans would not be the best loan for you, right? So, all right. So that was question number one. Okay. And remember, guys, no question is a silly question. Some people think like, oh, I don't want to, ask that question. But it's a silly question. No question is a silly question. The reason that, I know all this and it pops off the top of my head because I've been doing this, right, for so long. This is what I do. But if this is not what you do, then, hey, ask away. No question is a silly question. Okay. So the second question, how long does it take to buy a home? So normally the process can be between 30 to 45 days, right? Depending on a number of circumstances. Sometimes I know when we were, deep in the pandemic, everything was just backed up, right? Home inspections were taking longer. Appraisals were taking much longer to come in, right? So typically, though, you're looking at 30 to 45 days. Within that time frame, we should be able to, go from start to finish, typically, right? From contract to close. But again, now things have changed a little bit in terms of, appraisals are coming back a little bit faster, home inspections, all those types of things, right? So typically, we're looking at about 30 to 45 days. Okay. All right. So let's go to question number 3. Um, what does a realtor do? Right. So a lot of people feel like, hey, what does a realtor do? Why do I necessarily need to be represented by a realtor? I can just go out here and find a home and negotiate and do all this stuff myself. Well, a realtor is a very valuable asset because we know again the whole process from start to finish. We already have contracts written out. We understand earnest money, due diligence, seller disclosures, um, lead based paint, all the things again that if you don't do this every single day, you actually may miss something. And that misstep could cost you, right? So I do not advise, not saying you can't, right? Anybody, just like you can represent yourself in a court of law, anybody can go out and write a contract for a house, buy a house themselves, right? You don't have to be represented in this market, just like you have for sale by owners that are selling their home by themselves, unrepresented. You can also purchase a property unrepresented. Do I advise it? No. As a realtor, again, we bring to the table a lot of knowledge um, so that you're not stepping in landmines because I didn't know is not, it's not an excuse or it's not anything that is going to actually, no one is going to really listen to that. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, well, because once you sign a contract, it is a legal binding contract. You agreed to what was in this contract and you must abide by the contract, right? Now, are there ways that you can get out of a contract? Absolutely. But you may not know those things, right? You may not know, oh, I have this, clause or I have this in the contract, right? You may miss that because again, this is not what you do every single day. And so as a realtor, we bring a lot of value to the table in terms of making sure that you are um, going down the right path. Okay, so I'll get off my soapbox there about being represented. So, okay, on to the next question. Um, let's see. Okay, so this is a really good question, guys, because again, things are changing, and well, I'll just keep it at that. Things are changing. How much do I have to pay a realtor? Excuse me, as a home buyer, right? Well, typically, on the listing agent side, the listing agent has signed a listing agreement with the seller. Um, and in that listing agreement, let's just say, because that can vary as well. Let's say that the listing agreement is for 6%, right? In that listing agreement, it states that 6%, but the listing agent is willing to share a percentage of that 6% with the selling agent, right? So we have a listing agent and we have a selling agent, right? So, um, and we don't really get into a whole lot about commissions and this and that, but I'm just trying to give you a very high overview. So the listing agent agrees to pay the selling agent a certain percentage, right, out of the total that the listing agent has agreed within that in the listing agreement with the seller, right? So that's how we are paid a lot of times in terms of um, the listing agent sharing a percentage with us, right? And that's all in writing. That's all initially, that's between, again, the listing agent and the seller, right? So that's typically how it works. So, are there instances where a percentage of the commission can be paid by the buyer? Absolutely, right? And so that's a conversation that you have with your realtor. Okay. And so during your consult, during your buyer brokerage agreement, and as they're going through that, then that's a conversation that you guys can have, or that's a question that, you can ask your realtor once you're going through the buyer brokerage agreement. All right. So hopefully that cleared that up. All right, let's go on to the next question. Um, okay, this was a really, really interesting one, right? Um, what's your advice to first time home buyers? Okay. All right. So my number one advice to first time home buyers is be very, very, very careful of where you're getting your information and who you're listening to, right? I always kind of use the example of Uncle Bud. Uncle Bud, Uncle Leroy, right? Uncle Bud and Uncle Leroy know everything, or they think they do, about real estate, right? Oh, yeah, in 1955, this is what was happening, da, 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 and you're like, Uncle Bud, this is 2022, right? So, in this process, because real estate is a very popular topic, so sometimes Uncle Bud, you know, is still back there in 1950, 1960. And sometimes the people who have, so much advice for you have never purchased a home. So that alone is critical, right? In terms of who you're taking advice from, because some of the people that you're taking advice from may not be homeowners. So they are just talking out of the side of their neck and they don't know what they're talking about. And if you listen to them, you could be in a world of trouble, or you could just really be in a situation where now your mind has all this, misinformation in it. And I know you love Uncle Bud, you love Aunt Lucy, right? But Aunt Lucy bought her house in 1950, and Uncle Bud doesn't even have a house, right? Uncle Bud owns no property, no real estate, but he knows ev- everything about real estate, right? So those are not necessarily the best people to get advice from. All right. So that was a really, really, really good question. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Um, so what was this one? Let me see. Okay, what kind of credit score do I need to buy a home? What type of credit score do I need to buy a home? So typically you're looking at about a 620, right? Now you do have some lenders that will go to a 480. I'm sorry, a 580, not a 480, a 580, right? Some lenders will go to a 580, but understand the higher your score, the better the interest rate. Okay. So, can you get a house with a 580 credit score? Yes, depending on the lender. Is it going to be a higher interest rate? More than likely, yes. Right. So you just have to kind of, weigh that, look at your own financials. You know, you can always refinance out of the loan in 6 months or a year or whatever into a lower interest rate. But I just like for my clients to have, to try to go on with the highest credit score that they possibly can. Okay. But that was a good question. All right. Let's go to the next question. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, are there special home buying programs that I should know about? Yes, there are. There are. We have first time home buyer. We have NACA, and then some lenders have different programs. Some lenders have um, programs where you don't need tax returns, right? You just need a 1090, if you're 1099 you're a contractor, then they can just use that, right? So it just depends. There are so many programs out here. That's why it's really good to get with a good lender and to vet your lenders, because there are some programs out here that you may not be familiar with. So yes, there are different types of programs out here, right? So that was a good question. Let me see. You guys got some good questions. So let me see. How much money do I need for investment? Oh, okay. Okay, how much? Okay, so I think I had kind of answered that. Well, you mean for your down? I think it's for your down payment. Yeah, that's what it's. Okay, so your down payment. So typically on an FHA loan, you're going to need 3.5% down. On a conventional loan, you're going to need 5% down. And then on with the VA loan, um, there's no down payment, right? So just depending on whatever loan product you're going to be in is going to dictate how much your down payment will be, right? So again, FHA, we're looking at about 3.5% down, 3.5, 3.5% down. On a conventional, 5%, and then on a VA, there's no down payment, right? Now with the VA, it could be, and again, it depends because some veterans, depending on their, they have like ranks, and some of them have disability, and some, right? So just depending on where they are, and again, they'll provide all that paperwork to you, to the lender, not to us, to the lender, and then they will know, right? Okay, well, this is truly a 0% down. Um, Loan, because some vets are disabled and they have other benefits where they truly don't have to put down anything, right? Some VA loans, they do still have to pay a it's not an entitlement. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head right now, but it's a small fee, right? So again, it's going to depend on that veteran, and he or she will supply all of that information, all that documentation to the lender. Okay, so good question. You guys got some good questions tonight. And like I said, if you do have any other questions, you can always just put them in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And also, if you're watching this as a replay, you can, it will be a link down below, and you'll be able to get, actually, it'll be a PowerPoint or a slide, and I will send that to you. So you'll just fill out your information in the link that's going to be below in this video, fill out that information, and then we'll actually send you a PowerPoint of all of these questions, and the questions, I'm going to answer the questions as well. So you'll have the questions, and then you'll have the answers below. So that way it's kind of like a cheat sheet, right? Let me go back. Okay, so we answered down payment. We answered down payment. Okay, so what other fees are there besides down payment? Okay, very, very good question, right? So on your conventional loans, just want to make sure I'm answering this right. Okay, so yeah, because there was some other stuff in there. So on your conventional loans, right, you may have some loan origination fees. You may have some of those type of fees, but these are questions, you guys, definitely, because every lender is different. But I'm just going to give you, again, the high level, like, overview of the question. So besides down payment, you need to set aside money for down payment and closing costs and appraisal fees and home inspection fees, right? Because it's not, I always tell my clients, it is not the responsibility of the seller to pay your closing costs. We are not in that market. Everybody thinks, oh, the market has slowed down a little bit. It has, but these sellers, some of them are still not paying anything for closing costs. They're like, no, right? It just depends on the strength of your agent, right? If you're a strong negotiator, if your agent is a strong negotiator, then the cost may offset some things, right? So then it may be like, okay, yeah, we can do this, we can do that, right? But for the most part, your down payment is your responsibility, and we just went through that in terms of what the amount is for your down payment, depending on the type of loan you'll have. So you'll have your down payment, you have your closing costs, which is typically, I always kind of swing to the high side. So I always do between 2 and 3% for your down payment, and that's based on the purchase price. So you have your down payment, your closing costs, you have your appraisal fee, right? Which typically, I say between $500 to $600 if you want to have set aside, and then your home inspection. And your home inspection, a lot of times, is based on the square footage of the house. So a house that's 1,200 square feet, that home inspection is going to be less than a house that's, let's say, 6,000 square feet, right? Because it's going to take more time to do the home inspection. Okay, so those are the costs, and I like for my buyers to have that money set. It's already there. We're not scrambling. We're not trying to, oh, I'm just going to get the rest of it later on. No, because once we go into contract, things start to move, and we want to know. We want to make sure that you're going to close. We don't want, oh, Auntie Sally is going to give me $2,000. Okay, so has Auntie Sally gifted you that and it's in your account at this time? Okay, if not, we need to go ahead and see that within the next week or two, right? Because I've seen it where people were supposed to gift people money and it never happened, and they were depending on that money to close, right? So we don't ever want that type of situation to happen. All right. So hopefully I answered that question thoroughly. Okay, okay, I answered that about down payment and then the other fees. Let me see. I think I'm on the last question, you guys. Hold on. okay, wait, this is this is good. When do I get the keys? Right? When do I get the keys? So typically, 99% of the time, you're gonna get the keys at closing. That's when you're gonna get the keys. Now, are there situations where it's already been negotiated in the contract that hey, we're going to do a situation where the seller is going to stay right in the home for 30 days or whatever after close? Absolutely, those things happen, and that's already pre-negotiated in the contract. Everybody has signed off on that. If that is going to happen, typically I don't advise my clients to do that unless it's just a really like, situation where it's like, okay, we love the house and this is, this is the only way we're gonna get it. And so, right, because I just don't like that. I like personally for you to do that walkthrough. The house is vacant, and then when you get to the closing table, you have your keys and you go to your home and you start moving in. Right? That's typically like what I like to see from my clients. I typically don't like for my clients to do possession after closing and all that because it can just get really really crazy. Because in essence, what you're agreeing to is that now you have a renter in your home. And if things go sideways or whatever, now you've got to try to get these people out your house. And so it could be a nightmare. So typically I just don't advise my clients to do that. If we need to extend the closing date out for the seller, then okay, if it's reasonable, let's do that. But yeah, I don't like, possession or allowing the seller to stay um after the closing. So anyway, all right. So I think that was it. But you guys had some great questions. People sent in some really good questions. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So anyway, if you have any additional questions besides the questions that I just went over, again, you can put them in the chat. I don't let me see. You can put them in the chat. Um, and I will be more than happy. We're right at like 29 minutes. So this was good, right? I was like, maybe 30 minutes or so for the questions. So yeah, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have if you want to type them down in the chat. And this will be on my YouTube channel. It'll be uploaded on my YouTube channel. So if you want to come back for the replay, or if you want to share this information with one of your friends, family, whoever, hey, just be like, hey, Marcia did a great Q&A on all things real estate. You can definitely direct them to my channel and have them watch this replay. So again, any questions about anything, right? It doesn't have to be about necessarily buying a home. It could be selling a home. It could be I don't know, some of you guys may want to get into investing, right? So I will stay on for like maybe another minute or so, 2 minutes, two minutes or so, and see if anybody puts any questions in the chat. Again, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And remember, I know you guys are on here live, but I say this for people who will be watching the replay. So if you're watching the replay of this and you want my PowerPoint of all the questions and all the answers, then there will be a link. We'll add the link later, probably tomorrow morning. We'll add the link and you can click on the link, put in your information, and then we will email you out the PowerPoint that I went over tonight. All the questions that were emailed in or people sent on Facebook or whatever. So, all right. So we're like right at the 30-minute mark. It is 7:30 on the dot. So if I don't have any questions, I guess I did a fantastic job in answering all the questions. So if I don't have any more questions, I will just say good night to you and thank you so much for joining my real estate Q&A tonight. All right. Have a good evening. Bye.